Okay, this is just some random MAME games. I was screwing around the other day and looking through some old discs I had laying around, and this is about 10 or 11 years ago I downloaded a more or less complete set of MAME ROMs, and they've been sitting in a drawer for about 11 years. I do have a few of the classics that I keep on the drive, and I play those once in a while, things like Asteroids and Elevator, and a few other of the old classics that I actually did and played a lot when I was a kid. And on the other hand, there's about 15 or 20 gigabytes of all these others that I occasionally took a look at, but never actually played a whole lot. So I decided I'd get them out, just load them all up, and go looking around at them at random. And this is just a few ones that I came across in the last day or two that I thought were pretty nice. It's kind of interesting with these old video games. They tend to follow patterns. Like, for example, you got these top scrollers, I guess you can call them, where you got a little airplane and you're supposed to shoot the targets. I think I've heard people call these games where you're supposed to memorize the fire patterns of the enemies and things like that. Not really good at any of these, of course, but that's the whole point with these kinds of games. They wrote these old arcade video games. They were written with a different set of objectives in mind than what your modern day video games are about. I mean, nowadays they write these huge PC video games, and the idea is just to have something that keeps you playing for as long as possible. Definitely not the idea with these arcade games. The idea here is to make you want it, is to intrigue you as much as possible, to get you to put your quarter in. But then once they've got your quarter, they want you off the machine as fast as possible. So you get these games that are fun to play for about 30 seconds, but also they're either really incredibly hard right from the beginning, or they start to get really incredibly hard really fast. That is the optimum right there. The optimum coin-based video game is one which you want to play, which is fun to play, but it's incredibly hard to play for anything more than a half a minute or a minute or something. And this game right here isn't quite the optimum, because it's a little bit easier to play than some of these other types of games of this particular type anyway. The enemies don't move. Of course, inevitably, if you play that game long enough, you'll find the enemies moving faster. You'll find more of them. You'll find them making more fire for you to dodge, and so on and so forth. This here's a classic. This particular copy doesn't work quite correctly. The sound doesn't work specifically, but I remember this one. I remember this one from when I was a kid. Definitely, it was one of these vector graphic games, a little bit like Asteroids, which is the only one that I was ever really good enough at so that I could sit there and play it for hours and hours and hours. Asteroids, of course, has a couple of different ways built into it that you can exploit, so that you can basically sit there, if you're any good at it, you can put a quarter into an Asteroids machine and play that machine for about an hour, and just rack up one extra ship after another. There was me and a few other people that would travel to this machine, like every other day, and basically sit there and spend hours on it for very little money, and probably completely pissing off whoever it was that was hosting the machine. This one here really probably plays a lot better with a joystick. I don't actually have a joystick hooked up, so I'm having to do this with arrow keys, and it's much harder that way. It's not that easy with a joystick either, but it's a little bit easier than this. But yeah, you get the general idea. I think that extra crosshair in the middle is a glitch. That human person running forward, you're not supposed to shoot them. You're supposed to be rescuing those folks. I'm kind of surprised it lasted as long as this one as I did, because seriously got very little control with these arrow keys. That's a pickup over there. I have no idea what these things coming down are, but I shoot them just to be sure. There you go. Rescue that one. This one actually looks like it'd be kind of fun, but I kind of do need to get a joystick together because it's pretty much impossible like this. Yeah, okay. This, I'm not sure. I probably should have been paying attention. I'm kind of wondering when this one came out, probably sometime. I've never seen it before. Most of these games I've never seen before. It's kind of amazing. It's kind of amazing how many of these arcade games there were. I never realized until I saw these collections that people used out here. Well, a lot of them were in other countries. I mean, there's some completely weird Japanese games and Philippine games and games from God knows what Asian country that I can't really identify the language or. This one here is kind of a, I guess it's a Galaga clone, I guess you could say. It's a top scroller, but it looks similar to Galaga and Galaxy and a few others like that. I think this one's a little bit harder than some of those because these little flying saucers running around up here, they move around pretty quick. I'm no good at it whatsoever, of course. Yeah, I'll be out of this one pretty quick. I might be able to finish this level off, maybe if I can get that one little flying saucer up there. You can shoot those bombs coming down, but I'm probably not going to bother with that. Let me see if I can get him. There you go, he's out. And of course, the next wave is just going to be even harder. No doubt, if you manage to finish each wave, each one of these games is going to just get harder and harder and harder very quickly. But like I said, they're trying to get you off of this machine. They got your quarter. They want you to put in another quarter. Of course they do. A lot of these games, I've noticed what they did. I never saw this in the actual arcades, but apparently a lot of the games out there, they would, after you died, they give you the option of throwing another quarter there and picking up where you left off. I hate that option. Never saw it in an actual arcade, but it really ticks me off. I feel like it's cheating, you know. It's unfair that they give you that option. And what mainly bothers me is that they put a timer on there. They make you wait like 15 seconds because they really want you to put that extra quarter there and pick up where you left off. And I'm like, no, I just want to start over from the beginning, damn it. I'll put another virtual quarter in there, but just start from the beginning. It's cheating otherwise. You don't have to wait all day to do it. This one's a bit of a classic. I do remember playing this one in the arcades, and I always liked this one. I tended to like the vector graphic ones, and I tended to like the ones where you were flying the ship around with more or less the same kind of controls you had in Asteroids. Although none of these I've ever noticed ever had the real feel of Asteroids, because I thought the controls and the feel of the ship in Asteroids were just perfect, you know. Whereas this one here just feels jumpy, you know. It's like you barely tap the thrust and you're like halfway across the screen. I really don't like that. It's not that hard of a game, but it's just really hard to control the ship, and that's the main difficulty with this one. But it's a fun game. I actually spent a fair amount of money on this one when I was a kid. Oh, that's about it. I think that's it for that one. And what's this one? Oh, this is some kind of weird joust type of game. It's a joust clone, I guess you would call it. Pretty difficult. Yeah. Again, I think this one probably works better with a joystick. Completely horrible with it, of course. Well, who knows what kind of controls. I've never seen this anywhere. I've never seen this in any arcade anywhere. Probably had a joystick, but it might have had a trackball or something. That's why. No. Yeah, that should work. No, I'm not quite done, am I? Okay. Not sure if you blow up if you hit those little red things, but you probably do. They eventually turn into little fireballs, and then they sit still like that. And then you definitely die if you hit them then. Yeah, there you go. Insert a coin for 2 extra men. They're not going to just let you go. Now, this one's a seriously old game. This is back when they were all in black and white. I've never been able to hit that other ship at all. This is against the computer. You can tell from the screen here that this was originally intended to be run on a tabletop machine. I remember those. A lot of the video games, they would come with versions where the screen was on the surface of a beer table. Basically, you'd sit there in a bar, you sit down at this little table, there'd be a screen in the middle, and there'd be a seat on either side. You play against each other. That's why the writing is upside down at the bottom of the screen. I think this is the first time playing this here that I've actually managed to hit that stupid little ship on the other side. Yeah, it's almost impossible to get within its line of fire without the damn thing hitting you. The computer is just too damn good. But yeah, I think this time I did actually manage to hit a little faster. I'm not even sure what the point of this game is, because you can destroy those little things in the middle. I guess I'm racking up a score from destroying those. But obviously the main thing is to hit that thing on the other side and to avoid being hit by it. You know, I actually got him. I couldn't believe it. Yep. Yeah, this is from way back. This is back when they first started coming out with Space Invaders and all these other. Now this is one of these seriously weird Japanese games. It's a little bit like Pac-Man, but the idea is you push these blocks around and destroy the enemies with them. It's pretty seriously easy, at least on this level. This is obviously more oriented toward young children, I think. But if you stick with it, get past it and level up a couple of times. This one too gets a lot harder rather quickly, which is exactly what you'd expect. There's also some seriously weird kind of intermediate levels. I've only gotten into that one time. I've only played this like once or twice. So I don't remember much about it, except except you play one or two levels of this stuff, and if you don't die, you end up finding yourself looking at some Japanese announcer who seems to be running some kind of game show. You have to make some kind of a choice, and oh god, I don't know. It's just bizarre. This is not the weirdest Japanese video game I've ever seen, but it's actually rather cute. It's a bit childish, although obviously I don't have much idea of what the idea is supposed to be, except that you're a little tiny cat running away from tomatoes and alligators. And then you get into the blinking one there, and that's the escape. Well, that's it. This one's really cute. Never saw this in an arcade either, but this is a side scroller. And the idea is that you're this little caveman. It's got nice art. I like the art of this one. It's kind of cute. It's pretty well done. I like the ones that are fairly well done like this. Never was. Well, this kind of game is classic arcade type of stuff. I mean, it's actually a little bit easier than some of them, but like all of the rest, it will quickly get a lot harder. Not sure what all these power-ups do. Apparently you get heated up like that, and then you can set people on fire, which is cool, I suppose. Yeah, man, this is almost about as far as I've ever gotten with it. I have to kill these folks. Then you gotta hit the little dinosaur like that, and he starts crying and he runs away, and then brings back his mother. That's not so good. Oh, and then you're supposed to jump up there on top, and if you can get this dinosaur out, then you get to rescue the beautiful girl there. I'm not going to get that far here with this. This is actually... These kind of games, they were never really kind of my favorite types of games, because the impression I get is that it's basically a matter of just punching on the buttons as fast as possible, and that's it for that. Basically a matter of just punching on the buttons as fast as possible, and if you can manage that, then eventually you're going to win, because it's not so much skill, it's just how fast you punch the button. Basically, I think we're just about out of here. I must have hit the quarters button a few too many times, because I seem to have a lot of lives going on here. This is probably one of those games where the more quarters you stick in it, the more lives you get. Oh, I thought I was dead there, but I'm not. Oh, I got flattened out. I see how that works. Okay. Yeah, press start. Yeah, whatever. Come on, are we dead yet? Yeah, there we go. That's it. Okay. This is another one. Another side scroller. Submarine side scroller. I never saw this in any arcade either, but you know, I do like these. At least the look of them anyway, when they're well done like this. I mean, it's just beautiful artwork for something that was made back, for a video game that was made back in the 80s. Yeah, it's just beautiful to look at. And you can see how this just sucked up people's money for sure. I don't think there's any way to get the guy to turn around to shoot at the stuff behind him. But, oh, that's it. For some reason, when you start off here at the beginning, when you hit the alternate fire button, you're dropping things into the depths, and then after a few seconds, it switches around, and now you're shooting rockets up on top. I don't think there's any way to switch back and forth between those things, but it's kind of annoying. That's it. I should probably get one more life here and then be done. This is definitely not the hardest submarine side scroller game I've seen in this collection, but it's none too easy. Another top scroller. These are all. There's a ton of these kind of games, and they're all very similar. This is more like the standard routine Japanese top scroller with the very large, colorful fire patterns and large numbers of ships that tend to be rather easy to shoot, but you get overwhelmed by the sheer numbers of them. And it becomes mainly an exercise in recognizing the fire patterns and knowing which way to go instinctively to avoid them. I think that's about it for that one. Just about. There's a boss of some sort, and I'm not going to put in another quarter to continue with that. Here's another. This is a nice vector graphics game. Never saw this in any arcade either, but it's actually it's rather. This one's one of them. I like this. Not terribly difficult, at least at first. Although again, if you play it for any length of time, it's obviously going to just keep getting harder and harder very quickly. First thing, you're just doing a top scroller type of shoot 'em up here, where you're just trying to shoot the targets. Obviously, I'm no good at it whatsoever, but I just have to get this one last ship out. And then you get to proceed into the other half of this game type, which is where you have to land on the dock here, which is not that easy to do because the controls aren't that responsive. And then you get this little side-scrolling maze type of thing. The idea here is to pick up the little pink O2 symbols, follow the blue arrows, and find your way over to the reactor. Once you touch that, you've set the reactor off, and now the task becomes to get the hell out of this thing before the reactor blows up. You can see the timer going off there. I've got 19 seconds, 17 seconds, 15 seconds, 14 seconds. Not that hard to do, but this is only the first one. There's probably got 50 of those levels, and I'm sure they just do nothing but get harder and harder as you go along, and I don't think I've ever gotten past the second one. So. It's a real cute game. If you hit the fire button, you get that garbage ejected up there, which I don't know if there's any actual utility to that. And here's the second wave, and it's already harder than the first one. I'm going to die almost immediately. Yeah, I think I might get one more ship here. And I'm not going to last long at all with this. Oh, that's it for that.